You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
And we're back with part 2 of the debate on Titan Cement. Joining us now in support of the proposed plant development is the general manager of their subsidiary, Carolina Cement, Bob Odom, along with outspoken conservative talk radio host. He's on the Big Talker FM Saturday afternoons from 3 to 4, Pastor Tony McGee. Bob, good to see you again.
Thank you for having
Pastor,
me
great
back.
to meet you. Appreciate you coming in. Let's start off with Bob. Bob, give us the Titan side of the story on the decision to decline the state and county incentives.
Well, quickly, when we were invited to the state by the county and the state, they said we did not have to fall under the SEPA. And because of that, we accepted the incentives. Now we find out that we have to fall under SEPA, which pushes us back 2 years on our timeline, which means we can't be hiring people for 2 years or building the plant for 2 years. We decided to decline the incentive so we can move ahead with the process and in turn saving time.
Last June, I think you were on the show.
It's been a while, yeah.
In an interview, I asked you about bypassing the incentives. We have a clip from that show. So if you look at the monitor, we'll take a look at that clip. But why not forego the public money, and you can move forward with the with your plans without SEPA guidelines?
We could do that, but then let's be quite honest about this. If we did it, where would that get us? People would think we're trying to avoid something, and we're not. That's the big deal here.
So, what's different now?
I couldn't hear it, so I don't know what's different.
Well, you said that people would think we're trying to avoid something, and we're not if we bypass SEPA.
And we're still not trying to avoid anything. Again, it's just pushing the timeline back. If we didn't have to go through SEPA, we'd still have the incentives. But the NEPA that we fall under and the SEPA are the exact same thing. One is not more stringent than the other, even though the opposition says it is. Everything's covered. All the studies are done. Nothing is being missed. We're avoiding nothing. We're just saving ourselves 2 years. Under the NEPA, if we go through that, we can get our air permit and still go through the EIS, the Corps of Engineers EIS. It will take us 2 years to specify and design equipment. If we wait for the SEPA, at that point we get the EIS and the air permit at the same time, then we push back 2 years to design the equipment.
Let me take what the other side says. They argue that being able to invest large sums of money in equipment and plant development before getting the air quality permit increases the probability of getting permitted, because permitting agencies take that into account, money being spent, big money being spent, invested in something like that.
I understand what they're saying, but we're not going to build this plant until we have all permits in hand. I think
You're not going to break ground?
We're not going to build a plant until we have all permits in hand, okay? Now, to say that the Corps of Engineers is going to give us a permit because we decide to go out on a limb and spend some money, I just think that's selling them short. I don't see that happening.
How much do you estimate the cost of the facility?
Plant, equipment, and construction, and the land, $450 million.
And how much do you think you'll spend before the air quality permits are?
I can't give you that number, but it's going to be millions in the design.
Before you get the permit?
Absolutely, yeah. But we're not going to spend the $450 million total until we have all our permits.
So what happens if you spend that money up front and you don't get permitted?
We've lost the money. But we don't see that happening because we're following all the rules. Anything anybody's asked us, we've complied with. The rules seem to be changing a lot, but any rules, any studies that are done, we say, okay, we'll do it. We've committed to go through this project because it's important for the area and bringing jobs to the area.
Pastor, I'm not leaving you out of the conversation. Tell our viewers how and why you got involved in.
Well, I got involved in it because I heard about the the plant and all of the different things, and heard different ideas of why it shouldn't be and why it should be. So had an opportunity to talk to Bob here, and he explained some things to me. Had him send me some information. Then I had an opportunity to go up and view the plant in Roanoke. And when I got there, I saw not only were they complying with all of the environmental laws, but they had won all kind of government awards for environmental safety. Matter of fact, their quarry pond is used to raise fingerlings, you know, the little baby trout and all that. And so I thought that was
How
pretty good.
comparable is the size of that plant in Roanoke to what you're going to
Be about half the size.
About half the size. How concerned are you, Pastor, about the environmental risks that the other side keeps talking about?
Well, I do have some concern. I think for me, having concern and just saying absolutely no plant is two different things. I think we have to have a healthy concern, make sure that the company abides by the rules and the regulations that are put in place by the state of North Carolina and environmental agencies, and that's what they're doing. Beyond that, I don't think that we can go and say, okay, this is beyond the pale of what the regulations and what the actual valid concerns are. Let's come up with something new. I think that's unfair.
I would assume, and maybe this is the wrong assumption, but you're a conservative.
Very.
Very. So, and most conservatives are against government incentives to business and industry. What's your stand on that?
Well, actually, I'm a little bit different. I was in favor of this particular incentive. Number one, there was no cash outpayment. In other words, they had to actually produce a certain amount of tax revenue before they could see a reduction in their tax responsibility. That's not a cash gift. They have to actually produce something before they get the benefit. And I thought that was a great idea. I still think that's a great idea. I've looked at some other things and people are telling me that cash incentives is not good and so forth, and I understand that. But my perspective is if I'm investing in something and I'm running the show, for example, and I know that I could bring a company in based on the amount of money I invest in, it's going to be that's going to outpace that.
You would be in favor of those types of incentives for any business that wants to come in?
For any business, if they're going to provide what I would call the kind of footprint. You know, where we're talking 161 actual jobs, 1,200 feeder jobs, impacting the economy and all that kind of thing. Yeah, of course.
Bob, let's talk about the new EPA rules on sulfur dioxide that could place New Hanover County on a list of places where air quality is unacceptable, and that would require the feds to step in and make the state and local government fix the problem. How does that whole issue impact Titan's position?
We're concerned about the air just like everybody else is. It is a big deal. New Hanover County is heading that way. We're working with the state, EPA, and DAQ right now, running modeling that they have approved using best achievable control technology, and we will not push New Hanover County into non-attainment. We have to get a prevention of significant deterioration permit. We're not going to be the problem. The concern is existing operations right now. That's what makes this county non-attainment potential. Those are the companies that are going to have to be looked at and say, what are you going to do differently to change the way you're doing business?
Progress Energy is the largest.
Progress, and we all know they're going to natural gas, which is good. But there'll be other companies, other manufacturers that are going to have to do the same thing, not go to natural gas, but make some type of changes.
Explain why Titan wouldn't be a part of that component.
What we're doing right now, we have to work under the current rules and regulations, okay? And with the modeling we're presented, we do not significantly impact this attainment area. Once it becomes non-attainment, what little bit of SO2 we're putting out is not going to hinder the county from becoming an attainment area again. Once these other manufacturers make these changes that they need to do, it'll help getting back toward the attainment. We're using, again, the best achievable control technology right now. So we're setting a standard for the other companies to use also.
On the Titan, AKA Carolina Cement draft application for a North Carolina air quality permit, Titan has a 263-pound limit listed for its annual mercury emissions. Is that correct? The new federal government standards will be 46 pounds per year. That's almost 6 times what will be. 263 is what's on the permit. What's going to be allowed will be 46. That's almost 6 times what will be allowed under the new guidelines. How will Titan comply with that?
We're exploring technology right now to make us meet that. The 263, remember, was potential to emit, running the plant 365 days a year, 24 hours a day.
But if the permit's allowed, it does permit that.
If such a thing were actually possible, yes, we could have done that. But will we be able to meet the requirements? Yes.
How do you know that?
We're talking to manufacturers now, other people of equipment, Some of this is in the lab. This is so brand new with these mercury emission controls. But if we're going to build this plant, if we're going to run it, we're going to meet all the rules, we have to do it. So we're going to explore whatever it takes, spend the millions of dollars to do it.
Have you identified the technology?
No, we have not yet. We're looking at things, you know, it could change. We could have one technology right now, and by the time we get going, something else may pop up. So that's why we're not prepared to name one technology right now.
How significant is the opposition in numbers, do you think, in the community
I think it
to Titan coming in?
is a small, vocal, well-organized group. I talk to a lot of people. I keep meeting new people all the time. And once I have a chance to talk to people and explain, hey, you know, the rules are there to protect the environment, to protect the people, we have to follow the rules or we can't run the plant. You know, we bring in jobs, we're paying taxes. We're going to do a lot for this community. People do understand that. Now, if you say, well, I don't believe in government, I don't believe the rules, then there's a problem. But I like to think that the rules are there to protect all of us. We're all environmentalists. Let's face it, we're all environmentalists. A real environmentalist would want a company that knows what they're doing, making the product, following the rules that are necessary, or do you get a product from overseas, then they don't follow the rules.
Pastor, how do you think this is going to play out?
Well, I don't really know, but I really look forward to the plant being built and jobs being provided to this area. That is what I really would like to see happen.
You talk about this on the Big Talker Saturday afternoons?
I do. I haven't talked about it in a while, you know, because of course it just popped back up into the news with them, you know, releasing the incentive. But I've talked about it several times.
What kind of input do you get from your?
Well, different people have called in. Some said, you know, they're for it. Some say they're against it. Some people had a problem. I found it interesting that some people that said they were very much against the incentives. Now that the incentive issue is going away, they said, well, we don't really care anyway about that. We just, you know, we didn't. Really, it's kind of the idea, don't build anything. And I think that's what some people have the idea, that they're really against any type of kind of development like that.
We're out of time. Pastor,
Oh,
thank
that's
you.
all right.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome.
As always, Bob.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Appreciate
My pleasure.
it.
Thank you so much. Next week, local music icon Paco Strickland will talk about his music, his battle with cancer, and his future. So that's coming up next week. I'm Don Ansel from Byline Wilmington. Have a great week.
You've been watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Join us every Sunday morning as we explore the issues that concern you.